Good evening. I'm Mayor Mark Northrup. This is the Hudsonville City Commission regular session dated January 13, 2026. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bullheis?
Here.
Branson?
Here.
DeVray?
Here.
Grote?
Here.
Camp?
Here.
Nitre?
Here.
Mayor Northrup?
Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I apologize. I guess my sea cadets didn't get them put back in the corners on Sunday. So, do you need to move, or is it okay?
I don't mind being near Old Glory.
Okay, just making sure. Now is the time for a moment of silence. I think we all are aware of some of the strife going upon not only some of our cities, but also nationally and internationally. I know there's a lot of death and destruction, riots in Iran. I read where there's 1,000 casualties a day, deaths killed in action in the Ukraine and Russian war, and just have to take a moment to thank all those that serve in the front lines out there, and we do have one here that we need to acknowledge later. But if we have a moment of silence for all those that stand guard and watch and keep our country safe from strife and evil. Thank you. Now it's time for public comments. I see our state rep, Brad Slaw. Did you choose to speak to us tonight, Brad?
I'd love to. Again, coming up. Hello, everyone. Good to see you again in the new year. Thought I'd just give you a couple of overview kind of things related to stuff going on in Lansing. First would be, many of you, I'm sure, have heard about the whole work project thing that happened. Dollars that were not spent, $2.7 billion that were not spent in last year's budget cycle that they wanted to carry over and put into like savings accounts that they can use for the next 4 years, or maybe even longer, depending on how they get things worked out. Of that $2.7 billion, the state house said, you know what, we think there's about 650 of this, $650 million like that are being used for things that we probably wouldn't want it to be used for necessarily. Maybe it got sneaked in with the budget for some other thing that was going on, but it didn't get used during the year. Why would we save it and use it later on, have people use it later on? And so we said, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. Dana Nessel, our Attorney General, has now said that was something that was illegal for us to do, even though it's in the Management and Budget Act specified that that's what we did. So we're in the process of doing a lawsuit against the Attorney General and all the department heads saying you can't spend that money, and so we've asked the judge to actually put a hold on everything, on all the spending in those accounts until we have a chance to be able to work through that. And they're hoping maybe by Friday this week we'll have something, at least the next step result, we'll figure where we're going to go. One of the other interesting things that happened last year is we worked on a road project. That road project funding the roads across the state, specifically on the local level rather than at the federal highway system. And part of that included fuel and gas tax switches, which happened as of the 1st of January. So you're no longer paying 6 cents of sales tax on every dollar. What you're paying is 20 cents on every gallon, which at one point in time were very close to each other. Over a 3-year average, that's about what it amounted to. The benefit for us as in your role as people who drive the roads is the roads in front of our property are now going to have dollars allocated to them, rather than simply putting money through our gas tax into federal highway system. So we think that we're long-term going to see, and I don't know how many road commissioners will tell you that they're going to see more dollars, and they're expected to be able to do more stuff on our local roadways. It also would be the city is going to get more dollars, and I don't know what that number is. I know that there's an estimated number out there for what the city is going to get Let's see. And then PA 233 from last year, from the year before that, was the bill that became a law about renewable mandates and for energy, and gave control to the state for property siting. Obviously, there's a bunch of that going on in Iowa County right now. It hasn't touched you guys specifically, but it is potentially that it could affect you in how you're able to actually control what the property value and what can happen on it during that time. So that'll be an interesting thing to see. I think it's a bad law, but we're stuck with it at this point in time. And then the fire chief and I met this last week and chatted about potentially are there ways that we can maybe find some additional funding through the state for equipment that we need to do, or can we just find some equipment that we need and find it at a reduced price? And so I had a chance to work a little bit with the fire chief, or we can see if we can find something for that. If there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, you guys can get a hold of me anytime.
Any questions or discussion from the commissioners?
I just appreciate you coming out and giving us the update. Thank you.
That was a nice note you sent this week, too. Appreciate the acknowledgement of Hughes Park being recognized as a premier location in our community. Yeah, that's nice. Very nice. Anything else? Thanks, Brad. Stay in touch. You're always welcome to show up here. Thank you.
I turned it on. So it probably died. Probably needs to be charged then, if it died.
I'm not seeing a light on it. Oh, there it comes. It's blinking. Whatever that means.
It died.
I think it's dead. I guess we'll have to go without it. The acoustics in here are pretty good. I'd like to call up our mechanic, Mark. Coming up, Mark. Mark came back in November from a 6-month deployment in the Air Force to what we commonly call the sandbox. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit where you went and what your duties were there.
Yeah, I was at LUD Air Base, Qatar, or Qatar, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I was there roughly 7 months, actually. So when I was there, I was part of the Civil Engineer Squadron. I was the operations superintendent there. A couple hundred people in the Civil Engineer Squadron. They're handling stuff there. Best way to describe what I did is I worked for the city, except you were in charge of all the buildings in the city as well, housing and all that type of stuff. So in the 7 months we were there, we knocked out 19,000 work tasks. Came over a bunch of big obstacles, and I mean, it's like we're in the city. There was times me about chit chat back and forth, email. And he'd say, "Oh, we had this transfer switch go down." I'm like, "Oh, we just had one go down." And I sent a picture of the sewer lift stations there and everything else that they were having issues with that we had right here in the city. So it was a great experience, a good time. But
Well, we're glad you made it home safely, and we applaud your loyalty and patriotism and your professionalism. We are glad to have you back, but we support you serving, Mark, you and all your brothers and sisters out there. We had one other city employee, Jack, your son, came back when?
Yeah.
It was last month. Evan came back from...
Gone again.
He came back from Djibouti, where he was on the flight line for fire protection, firefighting for planes that were coming and going out of Djibouti. I spoke to him. He couldn't be here, obviously, because he's in leadership training down in San Antonio, Texas right now, right?
Oh, Master Sergeant training.
Master Sergeant training. So once again, we're proud to have your son serve the community and the country. Thank you, Mark. Welcome home. Anybody else choose to speak to the City Commission tonight in public comments? Hearing none, we'll go to consent agenda items. There are 3 City Commission regular session minutes dated December 9th, Board review minutes dated December 9th, and the accounts payable reviewed and approved by the Finance Committee and the City Manager, payment of the bills to the tune of $566,240.84, and the ACH distributions of $169,624.91. There's questions on any of those, so we can hold those for the Finance Director later in the meeting. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items, or are there any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Consent agenda items carry. Moving on to presentations, I need a recommended motion to accept the fiscal year 2024-25 audit report to be presented by Clark Schaefer Hackett. Is there a motion?
Should they present first?
I make the motion.
We'll get the motion on the floor, then we'll have percent.
So moved.
Been moved and supported, and at this point, I'll turn it over to the accountants.
Hello everyone, my name is Amr El-Askari. I'm in charge for the audit. I work with Clark Schaefer Hackett.
You want a clicker? Yep.
I also have Cody Mitchell as a manager on the engagement. We passed out a folder. This has also the hard copies for everything. Did everyone have a copy? All right. On the right side, you will see the financial statements. On the left side, there will be a letter. So the financial statement goes to the state, and that's what is filed. That is your final financials. On the left, this is a letter to the board. For this year, there was no findings, so this letter is just a standard letter that would be issued by any auditor. There is no modification into it, which is a good news, means there is no findings noted in there. Behind that letter, there will be the hard copy of the PowerPoint slides, if you want to follow through, write any notes on that. On slide 2, on the presentation that you have, as we state that the financial statements opinion is unmodified. There was no transaction that lacked guidance, which what we call creative accounting, and there was no disagreement with management. Management was very helpful throughout the audit. Andrew were able to answer all our questions, and everything we asked for was provided in a timely manner, which also means that the records are organized, which is typically what you would want to hear. You don't want your finance director taking a month to find an invoice, so that's a good thing. We also, this year, there was a new accounting standard, GASB 101, which we adopted it this year, and it's implemented in the financial statements, which resulted in an increase in financial reporting liability. It's not a real liability, but just for financial statements, not a real operational liability. So that's driven by new accounting standards. They want to put in more liability for compensated absence that historically government didn't include on the financials, and now they just have to be seen on the financial statement. There was also some corrections to the prior period financials to correct for some costs that was made on some of the assets. It was recognized as a construction in progress, but it was just an expense throughout the period. It was specifically for looking for lead in the pipes, in the water pipes and so on. So some of these expenses were used as a capital asset, but it was determined later that it's not going to be capitalized. So we removed that in this year's financials. On the next slide, I'll have Cody kind of go over the financial a little bit more and give you a little bit more in-depth numbers.
All right, so just a few items I want to note before we get into the next few slides, which is going to have some of the numbers behind the financials. These numbers might look a little different compared to what you're used to looking at. We have some accrual accounting that goes into the audit. It's going to bring on capital assets, debt, stuff like that. So the numbers that you're going to see as far as assets and liabilities and revenues and expenses, it might be a little bit different compared to what you're used to seeing. This is really that main driver that we're following accrual accounting, like a full accrual accounting. One other thing, I know this slide here is year to year, but as we go through them, there will be 5-year graphs. One thing to keep in mind is this is our first year under audit with the city. So we're mostly going to focus on just the comparison of those first 2 years. And we just want to present everything else, so you can see kind of the trends as it went through the last 5 years. So just a few things to note before I get into this. So on this first slide, we're looking at assets and deferred outflows. I really just wanted to highlight a few of the larger ones. So you'll see that other assets increased by about $250,000. So what this mainly is, the increase was related to due from other governments. At year end, there was some additional MDOT funding that had been earned but not received yet by the city. So it pushed that receivable number a little bit higher. And then the second one that I wanted to know was capital assets increased by $830,000. This is really just due to various projects during the year at the city, road projects, sewer projects, and any equipment that you might have bought during the year, such as I know like the street sweeper was a bigger purchase during the year. So that's really the main changes in assets and deferred outflows. So on the next slide, we have the liabilities. And the two that I wanted to highlight on here is that you'll see that accounts payables, which is at the very top, increased by $638,000. So what this is mostly due to is purchases made for the road projects where you received the services before year end, but it was actually paid after year end. So at year end, you're looking at a liability, and it was really related to some of those road projects that were going on around that time frame. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight on this one was that long-term liabilities decreased by $550,000. This is due to the city meeting their yearly debt obligations and paying down the debt. So, as long as new debt doesn't come on and you're just making the payments year after year, you'll see this number keep decreasing as the payments are made. But if there is new debt, then you might see that number jump in a future year. So when you mix in the change in assets and the change in liabilities, the remainder is the net position. So as I said, you can see here on this 5-year spread that you're seeing steady increases in your net position year over year from 2021 to 2025. On the next slide, we're going to show a breakout of what's really making up that net position number. And this is pretty typical with our clients, where you'll see the vast majority is net investments and capital assets. And what that is all of your capital assets, buildings, vehicles, streets, stuff like that, netted with depreciation and any related debt. So you'll see that's what's making up the vast majority of your net position at year end. There's a small bucket of restricted, which is net position at year end that's restricted by outside sources, so grants that could just be restricted for certain purposes, or other dollars that are restricted by outside sources. And then the remainder you'll see is the unrestricted bucket, which is a little larger than restricted, but not as large as net investment capital assets. Which like I said, this is a pretty standard spread that we see with our clients. On this next slide, so this is looking at net position for the business type. So this is a mix of your water and sewer funds. And what you'll see is that from 23 to 24, it increased, and then from 24 to 25, it decreased somewhat. Really the main driver behind this was the large payment, the city contribution for the Wyoming water distribution project. Without that, I think it's like 1.3 or 1.5 million, somewhere in that ballpark. Without that payment, you'd probably be, but obviously it's good that we can explain what this decrease is caused by with that payment.
And that was a choice that the commission made, that was done with some thought.
All right, so then on this one we did, once again, looked at the breakout of the net position. So in your business type, there's just no restricted, there was no dollars that were restricted by an outside source. So, but once again, you'll see mostly made up of net investment in capital assets. Switching back to the governmental activities, so this is, everything other than your water and sewer funds. This is kind of the breakout year over year of revenue and expenses. You'll see that expenses have remained relatively similar over the last few years with an increase in revenues. So I would attribute this increase that we're seeing here to the increase in property tax revenue related to the increasing property tax value. So that's really what's kind of driving that revenue up from the prior year. Similarly, switching back to your business type activities, it looks like we're looking at increases in your expenses, mostly due to that Wyoming distribution. That's going to make up the vast majority of that. There was also some repairs to lift stations that kind of increased expenses compared to the prior year a little bit. And then you'll also see that there's an increase in revenue, and that's due to the rate increases for water and sewer during the year. So that would have increased the revenue for that. And now I'm going to hand it back to Almer to drill down into the general fund a little bit.
So are you guys following with us, or is that too detailed, or is that good enough? I just want to make sure. Since this is the first year, I want to make sure you guys are following with us. If we need to change it a little bit in the future, let us know. So the next few slides, we're going to focus specifically on the general fund, which is one of the governmental funds, excluding grants and other things. So in the governmental funds, there might be mostly going to be restricted funds, which really you might get revenue, but it's restricted to be spent for a specific purpose. The only ones that you have control of if you want to create your own initiative or start something new is the general fund. So that's why this kind of is the most important fund to have some healthy balances in it. And we're going to get to this into a little bit. But on slide number 11 here, you will see the revenue is the orange line. It's kind of growing steady, which is a good thing. Expenses went up in 2024 and came back down, which was mostly things that Cody covered, like the payment for the debt and the purchase of $1 million in land in 2024. So that's what kind of caused this increase in 2024 in expenses. But then once you exclude those, everything back to normal in 2025, and the expenses again lower than the revenue, which is what you want to see, that you're budgeting and spending less than what you're making. On the next slide, that's the property tax revenue specifically for the general fund, and you can see it's a steady increase, and Cody mentioned that there was an increase in the value, which helped push that tax revenue to keep going in a stream. So healthy direction there. You don't want to see the property values going down in the city. Next part, again, the fund balance for the general fund seems to be around the 2.5, a little over 2.5 million, which been relatively steady between 2024 and 2025, which is a healthy number as well. And the reason for the drop from 23 was mostly that purchase of land and the payment of the debt from earlier. The next part, this is kind of a very common question nowadays. What the general fund balance should be. Everyone seems to want to know how much they want to keep in the general fund would be at the end of the year. For the city, it's around 42% of 1 year expenses. So equates about 5 months on that. So that's where the city stands right now, about 5 months of the revenue, which is 42%. On the next slide, we kind of wanted to put the guidance from the GFOA, which is respected organization in the governmental practices, talks about having 2 months as a minimum. which comes out to about 17%. And also they recommend having, in general, between 2 months to 12 months worth of fund balance.
What are you seeing typically?
It's between that range. It's all over the place. Every city or county will have a different percentage. Having anywhere in between that is going to be healthy. We're going to cover in a little bit how to know more precise on that number. But so yeah, the variance between the 2 months and the 12 months is pretty wide range. But the reason for the 2 and the 12, if you're less than 2%, you're cutting it close. It's too risky, and we're going to cover why. But over 12 months is kind of higher reserve. Why do you have more than 1 year? It becomes or most of the councils or commissioners would find it harder to explain to the citizens why they have in taxes if they already have reserve more than a year. So it becomes a little bit more challenging. On the next slide, we kind of listed 5 things in your consideration to determine, do you want to be near the 2 months or do you want to be near the 12 months? Which that's going to come down to your revenue and expenditure stability. Do you feel like you can predict your revenue? Do you have consistent revenue streams, or do you rely on a lot of grants that maybe not like recurring, one-time assistance from the state, or you made a deal and sold something that made you extra revenue in 1 year that's not going to come back in the future? So far for the city, it seems like property tax is increasing and going in a good direction, so that seems like revenue stability there. But you need to look at your overall other revenue and the other expenses. Is there any expenses that might come to you as unexpected that you might want to get for, let's say, an older software that you might want to consider upgrading in the future, or you want to buy a car or something? Then you need to factor these expenses and think, okay, if I have an aging assets, I probably need to start building up a little bit that reserve for this one-time come. So that's number 1. I kind of covered also number 2, the risk of this one-time costs. Number 3 is inter-fund pressures. If you have a specific fund that usually run in deficit and need some assistance from the general fund, that also could be a factor you need to think about to look at your reserve. Another thing, if you're borrowing and you want to have certain credits, credit rating with the borrowing agencies, and looking at that, if you want to issue a bond or something, it will help if you have certain reserves. And I don't know if you have interest in growing your bond ratings, or that's not something of interest. All right. On the next slide, kind of things to help you also like counter some of the risks that we mentioned onto the previous slides. I'm not going to go too much details onto those techniques. The big ones that I wanted to factor for you, like number 3, insurance strategy. A lot of people don't realize that this is also part of your reserve. So if you don't feel like your insurance is very strong, you might want to have some extra funding. If you feel like you have very strong insurance, you have good cybersecurity, you're content with other areas, you might not need as much as reserve. And it depends on what cover under your insurance, like if there is any unexpected damages, or if you have certain assets that could get damaged in terms of hurricane or something, you want to make sure that they are covered. If you don't have good insurance, then you might want to have reserves just in case if something happened, you can fix these issues without having to go borrow or have request additional taxes. On the next slide, so you can look at the third bullet point here. So to get a AAA funding, they typically, that's from Moody calculation, they would want you to have about 35% of your revenues. Right now, we said earlier, you're about 42%. So you're close to that number, a little bit higher. but that's kind of what would get you to that AAA, which that reserve alone weighs about 30% of their overall ratings. So they would have other factors they have to consider, but 30% of these factors is how much cash you have as a reserve to be able to absorb unexpected circumstances. So that's kind of the bigger part. Does this help to clarify a little bit on the fund balance and any discussions, or do you have any questions for us on the fund balance? Okay, sounds good. Next thing, one of your biggest liabilities is the pension plan and the pension funding. Right now, as of the end of this year, the pension funding was almost 80%, which is higher than most of the threshold that we see typically. The best practices, they used to say over 80%, but recently they pushed it all the way to 100% with some large market fluctuations. But that's just something to keep in mind, that they want you to get to the 100%, but 80% a year ago was the number. So you're right on that number from a year ago. They just increased it now with all the market fluctuations, because as you know, pension money is all invested in stocks, and with the market, it makes a little bit hesitation. So now they're starting to call on these pension plans and like, hey, you want to target 100%. Overall, the plan is now closed, regardless for new enrollments. So there's not much you can do at this point. You're just waiting for the stocks and hope for the best and see where that's going to take us over the next few years. On the last two slides, we have a little bit more discussions on the business type funds. Cody will finish that part.
Yeah, so to stay kind of on the line of the fund level, so this looks a little bit at your sewer and water operating income. So I'm not really going to go into too much detail. The water went way down because of that, the distribution for that project. Without that, you would have been, pretty similar to where the blue dot was last year. And then for the sewer, it had decreased from last year due to some of those lift station repairs that occurred during this year that would have increased expenses a little bit and driven down operating income. But all in all, I mean, sewer stayed, relatively in the range that we would have seen in the prior years as well.
Yeah,
And then really this kind of,
just so you know, we chose to use our capital not to assume the liability for the right reason. We had the money.
yeah,
And we recognize that that was going to show in the books here.
Right.
But that was we had dozens of hours of discussions as a commission for that decision. So it was not something we're surprised at.
yeah. So I mean, next year, we would probably expect this to revert back to where it was before this year happened. And yeah, it's definitely good that you understand what's causing it and that was a decision that you made. Not like, you're not like shocked to see this giant number here. So, and then on the last slide, this is looking at your operating cash flows, and it's really just mirroring pretty much what was happening on the one before this. So, and other than that, that is our slide deck.
I just want to clarify, our unfunded liabilities for our pension plan are 20%, is that correct?
No, for the pension, it's 80%.
Yeah, we're at 80%, so 20% is unfunded right now,
Yes. Which is normal.
which is fairly normal, but the target now by the state is 100.
Yes, it used to be 80. The state will not call you unless you're below 60. They will ask you to make a correction plan if you're below 60. And if you're below 40, then you will have to take an action immediately. Drop in the benefits or something like that, or add in more contribution. They will ask you to do an action if you're below 40. If you're below 60, they will reach out to say, okay, do you realize it's below 60 and what are your correction plan? And usually there's a form that Andrew would have to fill. Over 60, they don't talk to you. This is normal. I would say the vast majority of the state is probably between 60 to 80. So you're in a good position. You don't have to be concerned. We just want you to know about it, but there is no reason to concern because it's all driven by the stocks. 1 year could be higher, 1 year could be lower. Also, there is a lot of, this is all prediction of the next 30 years. It goes into it like the people in the plan, their mortality rate. If someone lives longer, it will drag more on the assets. If they live shorter than the expected, it will add more money into the plan. So right now, there is no action needed other than we just tell you that number every year as things gets older. So maybe like 10 years from now, we might start recommending actions if things were still going down or up. But for this year, and I don't know, Andrew, if you have any.
I'll comment a little bit on that. So usually we typically add more than what's required of us from MERS. That's our pension plan. And so we've been adding extra to it until this year. We pulled back a little bit this year just because of the other purchases we were making. But in future years, we'll plan on going back to that same threshold of $10,000 a month contribution, and that will help us get to that 100% sooner. And also, we last month or the month before, if you remember, we consolidated the MERS plans into one plan. So that's going to help with the actuary because they'll have more than 1 or 2 people per plan. So that will also help smooth that out. And the last point I want to make is in 2022, we had the major decrease in stock market. So that was, I think it went down about 18% is what the MERS lady said. And so MERS actually smooths it out over 5 years. So that 2022 is going to hang with us until 2027. So if we don't have another dip in the stock market, before 2027, if we just even stay steady, this 80% on its own is going to jump up because the 2022 decrease is going to fall off. So there's a lot, like Amir was saying, that goes into it, but 80% is a good number. We're not like on any, warning list or anything, but, obviously we'd like to be fully funded at some point in time. And then, eventually once everybody in the plan is no longer on the plan, then the city will recoup that money from the plan. But since it's closed, it will eventually, all the investments will be returned to the city. But
Also,
that's probably, ways down the road.
This is as of 6/30/2025. The past 6 months has been phenomenal in the stocks.
Yeah.
If we would do the number again as of yesterday, it probably would be a lot higher. so.
That's good. And that's an inherited liability we have.
Right.
It's not just gonna go away overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of other communities are much worse shape than we are.
Right. And we can continue chipping
I
away
would
at
say
that.
the state, back when there was COVID money started coming in, they used quite a bit of their COVID money to push to multiple municipalities that had significant drop where they were around the 40% to help bring them back up. Now that money ran out, but that's how bad it was, the average. That's not decision made by other states. Most other states did not step in, but because it was really bad specifically in the state of Michigan across other municipality, they stepped in to help lift up this number for many cities. So I think you guys are in a good position right now. You're not one of the ones that the state had to come and save you. So.
We also don't have any more adding to the plan, so we're fixed
We should
in the number of individuals in it. So it's only going to improve as time goes on because those individuals will drop off at some point.
There's no reason to think our bond rating wouldn't be anything other than AAA right now, correct?
No, I think it would be about a AA.
Double A?
Right. A AA, or, I mean, the counties is a AA as well. No, they're a AAA. They
We
were.
should be AAA.
Well, our size limits us from the AAA, I believe, right?
I'm not sure on this one. I'll have
Okay.
to look and get you back on answer.
That would be the only reason why we wouldn't be AAA is because of our
Due to the
size.
size of this.
Right. There's a certain threshold that you have to be in order to reach AAA status.
Okay.
But we're a solid AA at least, which is great for a city. So, but yeah, depending on the size, I'll have to research that more to see if we could even qualify for AAA.
The other thing you mentioned whether or not our insurance covers us for any catastrophic funding requirements. Did you look at our insurance and feel that it was adequate?
We don't necessarily look, because that's not accounting side, that's more operational risks. I believe Andrew would be part of his compliance, would have to check that. We just make sure that Andrew is doing it, but we don't get into it. That's the insurance consultant. We don't do insurance consulting.
Yes, we are through the MML, which is a very respected and well-known liability pool for state governments.
So you don't think our risk is undue there?
No, they've been great to work with, and they cover everything that we ask them to cover, so they're very responsive and great, yeah.
Oh, last thing I want to bring up, we transitioned to the cloud when you were here, is that correct?
Just as you were taking over in August, we transitioned to the cloud, yes.
Any concerns there, or did you notice anything, any abnormalities?
The software seemed fine. Everything's there. What we usually check for, like, is their password changes, their backups, all these things. We didn't have any comments about that aspect.
So you checked all that?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was just hoping you could speak a little bit more to the recommendation you folks made to correct what you stated as an error in terms of how we accounted for those capital assets at the end of 2024. Obviously, we used a different firm at that point in time, but that wasn't flagged by them, so just curious what your thinking process is.
I don't think it was an issue on the city side. I think it was miscommunication from the auditor, probably misunderstood a part. The financial statements are prepared by the auditor, or that's the city contract. For last CPA firm had the same contract as us, so we prepared the financial statements. There was certain expenses for a project for that lead testing. They had a misunderstanding. They thought that these would be ending up in a bigger scope and that it will become a capital assets. And they capitalized these, but that was not the communication. So we contacted them, we asked them what was the reason for including these as capital assets, and they looked at the record and they said it shouldn't have been, and they told us, like, we need to correct that on their behalf. So we corrected it going forward. So I think that was happening from the prior firm. I don't think there was a broken process or something that needed correction on your side. It just was a misunderstanding on the prior auditor behalf. And we're now hopefully we have good communication.
We do,
hopefully
yes.
we figure out all that stuff, and we usually, when we have anything that unusual, we reach out. So we were reading the transactions and descriptions, and we looked at this, and it didn't look like it's a part of a bigger project, so we didn't know what it is. So we had some discussion with Andrew, and we reached out to the prior auditor to understand what was the thought behind it, and they kind of said, like, yeah, they just shouldn't have done it.
That's typically not a city decision one way or the other. We provided the information and the former auditors selected to do it that way.
The city, it's usually so it's kind of a partnership when you're preparing the financial statement. It's usually a discussion of continuous communication. The city usually flags a certain items that should be capital assets, but the auditor sometimes in their cleanup, especially when we're doing some journal entries to recoup to the full accrual process, they can move some transaction to the capital assets. Now the issue can come in if they decided to move it without going back and Andrew and verifying and double checking. So they probably were just crushed on time and they went and did it right away, and there was lack of communication there.
Amir is being very kind to our previous auditor, as is professional. But that was, me and Cody ran into this when we first started, was he was asking what this was, and I was like, I have no clue, because it wasn't on any of our work papers as a city. It was all expensed out as a city, but the previous auditors changed it to capital asset. So there was some confusion there about why they did that, and they didn't have a reason why they did that. So it was just an error on their part, I would believe. But Amir is being very kind,
Yeah.
and diplomatic. But it was, it was just a miscommunication there, because there was no communication with our previous firm. So, yeah.
Fair. And you're pleased with that change and update?
Amir and Cody have been very responsive. I feel like I was the one dragging it this year because there are so many other things going on with personnel changes and everything else at the time, that I felt like I was the one being not responsive as much as I would like. So, no, they were on top of it. They were always quick to respond, and I've been very pleased with them. So, yeah,
Cool.
they've been great.
Thank you for your answers. I appreciate it.
Now, do you file this with the state?
Yes.
Is there a response back from the state?
No.
You just,
If there is a problem, you get within 1 day, you will get a letter. You get an automatic letter, you get it by email immediately. If there is no problem, we don't hear back.
it's your responsibility to submit to the state, and now you're under a 3-year contract, is that right?
3 years with 2 bonus years, I believe, right?
Sounds about right.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's how we typically structure it. So it sounds.
So we
yeah.
should see you back here 4 more times?
I hope so.
At least, yeah.
Hopefully more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for the auditors? Thank you, Cody and Amir, very professionally done. There is a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
I'd like to express my appreciation also. I've seen many of these reports over the years, and you did an excellent job.
Thank you. And if there is anything you guys in the future want us to look at, or something to discuss, like a topic going through your head or something, we're happy to next year to add more to our presentation or look at anything further if you guys looking for any details, or one-on-one if someone is numbers not his cup of tea and wants a separate discussion to look into things more in detail, we also happy to do that.
I thought it was very straightforward, easy.
Okay, the motion's on the floor. I'll call for the roll. Clerk?
Commissioner Branson?
Yes.
DeVray?
Yes.
Bullheis?
Yes.
Grote?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Nitre?
Yes.
Mayor Northrup?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a pleasant evening.
Have a good drive back.
Moving on to departmental reports, public statistics, safety statistical reports. Chief Essenberg, you're up.
Good evening. December, we ran 63 calls in the month of December, and that brought our total for the year to 742. So if you look at the page that compares the years, that is 12 more than 2024. So a slight increase in call volume. Majority of that, probably medical. That seems to be the 90% of what we do. Yeah, it was a busy year. Other things on the report, there is a light EMS report for November. They were at 95% compliance in November, which is excellent. December will not be that excellent because as things do, they taper off, but they had a phenomenal month getting to the scene on time. We had a couple events. We did the Shop with a Hero one night, and then I also participated in the Ottawa County Emergency Management Training scenario that they do annually. So, any questions?
We lost 2 of our firefighters.
We did.
You know, where are we for staffing?
So right now, staffing is, we have 1 cadet and 15 firefighters. So actively looking again to recruit. It's a constant struggle, recruiting and retention.
So that's responsibility for all of us. We need to seek young men and women in our community that could seek to serve. We will train them. We will pay them even when they're cadet, correct?
Right, yep. we do.
So if
Yep.
we can help you, Chief, you have some ideas, certainly share them with us.
Yeah, we've looked at many different things. We continue to do that. The 1 cadet that is in the academy started last week, Tuesday night. So this will be tonight. This is 3rd night in the academy. So far, indications are good. But yeah, we have to keep recruiting and putting them through the academy and training them. And yeah, for the ones that left, they both had 8 years of service. It's hard to replace.
Jack, we'd love to get your son.
Yeah, we can.
He's a little busy right now.
Trained and certified. That's a bonus.
Maybe in about 6 years.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
Do your peers in other neighboring departments have retention or recruitment concerns as well?
The smaller departments, yes. Bigger areas, yes, but at a different scale. So I'll take the neighbors to the north. 3 stations, 60 firefighters. Percentage-wise, they rotate them in, rotate them out. They have 8 in the academy this year. That's a lot of people in the academy. They are looking to hire full-time as well, as you know, but that's separate from that. This is the paid-on calls. They have that many in the academy, 2, 3 per station. So, yeah, they all struggle. We all struggle. Nobody has the answer yet. We've had firefighters move from here, from the city, out to a township and then get on the township. Well, they love that because we've trained them and seasoned them, and now they're over there. Very few have moved into the city, but we keep looking at that too and seeing what we can do to attract that.
If you have any ideas that we can help you out with as a commission, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But the crew we have is great.
Yeah.
They're dedicated, they're trained, they're ready to go, they're phenomenal. They don't miss a beat.
Would that be 18? Is there an age?
That'd be 18.
18.
Yeah, that's state of Michigan requirement.
The fact that Life EMS is in the city limits now with their the garage, do you think that is part of the...
It definitely helps, but they have been super busy the month of December. I mean, call after call. The call volume in Ottawa County is increasing, not just us, everywhere.
Why is that?
I don't know, population growth, yeah, people are more apt to call 911 for something that maybe years ago you would have jumped in the car and went yourself, but yeah, we'll gladly go and take care of them and transport.
Anything else for the chief? Thank you, chief. Keep up the good work. Is there a sheriff's report here? I think I haven't had a chance to really look at any details here. Nothing jumped out at me. Anything from the commission here?
This is just observational. I seem to have noticed that I've seen more enforcement, more cars, either with radar or driving around than I think I saw over the past month. So maybe it's some of the changes have been more effective. I don't know.
I also sent a rather pointed text to the sheriff. Nothing we did.
Anyway, it's good to see.
Okay.
Good to see.
JJ, you're up. I have no idea. We're gonna blame Larry. Might have to turn that off once you repower it. There it goes.
Good evening, everybody.
Probably that piece up there.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope, I guess not.
For us, December final month.
Good way to just turn it all on.
I just didn't turn it off rather than have to do that. Power down. There we go.
So we've also got a couple of openings in our department. We do have one candidate that we're going through the interviews process with Andrea. So we're looking forward to having him on board soon. Our Total staff hours were just over 1,000, so that's a combination of, simply just some better accounting of hours, but also we put some time into some specialized areas. We've got a communication specialist now on the team. It's been working on the wireless edge project, coming up with some things there, upgrading some equipment out of the DOC, some reorganizing, and just some changes to the layout of the room downstairs. So,
Jason, what do we pay our
what's the rate?
yeah, what's the entry rate?
Off the top of my head,
We're in the low,
is it 18?
I think that we're in the low 20s. For that group.
So it's a few hours of staff meetings and trainings and the plan. And of course, our big plan events, Fair Week, and
We have nothing on the radar for the next month, do we?
no, we don't have any planned events until really until the summer.
Right.
And we'll help out potentially with some county events as it gets closer to more. We started working out reimbursement agreements with those municipalities as well. So we help and.
So when we help out the other municipalities, and do we bill them out?
We do.
The mechanism here?
Grand Haven, Barnes, Holland for Tulip Festival. We work out, Dave works out agreements with them to bill for our time, and we go out to help. So, and they need us. There's, as you all know, Steve just said, there's a shortage of firefighters, shortage of reserve police officers, on-duty police officers. And with everything going on, it's all hands on deck on those big events on the law enforcement side. So they like to have us out there and supporting them and doing the things that that we do, so they can allocate the resources in other areas for their needs.
Very good. Any other questions for emergency management? Hearing none, thank you, JJ. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Moving on to city treasurer's monthly report. You're up, Mr. Smith.
So our revenues were just slightly below expenditures for the month of December. We're a little behind on our expenditures for the year at 46% of the 50% we would expect halfway through. I didn't forget about your report. I just hadn't had a time to write it. The mid-year report. I'm going to write that and then email it all out to you.
Which report is that?
The mid-year report I started a year or two ago. I would typically have it for you at the commission meeting, but I just haven't had the time to write it yet. So I'll get that wrote this week or early next week, and then get that out via email to all the commissions, so you can have that to kind of see where we are on a department basis and everything else like that. As you see, the revenue summary, we're doing well with that. We're at about 99% of our taxes paid, just under like 98.9% are paid. So once again, how everybody's doing their part, paying their taxes. Expenditures, nothing too crazy right now. We're just chugging along, doing what we do. And the interest earned last month was $39,486, and that brings our year-to-date, fiscal year-to-date, to just under $250 halfway through. So if we continue that, we'll be right around $500,000 again this year, fiscal year end interest. So that'll be great, even though interest rates are going down. So it's good personally that interest rates are going down, but for the city, it's not as good. But it's a give and take there. And then, we started a program with West Michigan Community Bank. You'll notice on the back the CDRs. So that's where we can invest with them, and then they put it in different banks across the United States. So it's all FDIC insured. We probably take about a 10% hit on that, but it actually is very beneficial for West Michigan Community Bank to have the deposits on their record, even So we get the EIC insurance, all that stuff, we get to stay local with some more of our deposits, and, you know, it's a win-win there. So, you know, so it's a small price to pay to help our local community. Yeah, they're doing great. Mecklenburg, also, we're investing a little bit with them too, you know, just because they're out another local bank. So, you know, we like to keep it diversified, but also support as well as much as we can. So in case you were wondering what the CRs are, that's just another CD program. And finally, I don't get to give you the good news next month. Actually, gets to give you the good news about the debt report because it was paid after January 1st. But just heads up, we paid off Ken Jipping last week, I believe. We paid his $316,000. He received it, so we're all good with him. Paid off, and then we paid our box payment as well for the fiscal year. So those will be zeros next month for actually this year. And then on a personal note, I'll be working remote for the next month. I have some family members to attend to, but I'll be available working remote. I just won't be in person. So hopefully there's no change between how you deal with me or have any questions, but I just wanted to make you all aware that, you know, I might be an hour or two delayed in response, but also have a response back to you as soon as possible. So, any questions or so I can take those now?
Any further commission?
DPW building, how long do we have it as?
We paid it off already.
That's done.
Yeah, we paid that off in July. Okay. We had 2 years left on it, but it was $40,000, so instead of dragging it out, we just paid it. Okay. We put it in the budget and paid it off in July. Just so we didn't like drag our feet with it. It wasn't much, but yeah. So we're down to just the bottom floor, Terrace Square, and Party Street. Is the last step we have that we own personally.
Anything else for Treasurer? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moving on to new business administration. Number 5, Wyoming Transmission Main Encroachment Agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the encroachment agreement between the City of Hudsonville and the City of Wyoming within the Nature Center located at 2800 College Street.
Support. To move supported. Is Sarah going to speak to this one? Sarah? And Ms. Stephanie.
So for the encroachment agreement, there was a original easement agreement written for the Wyoming transmission main back in the 60s, and it was very vague.
But you did find it.
I found it, yes. I know, right?
So
Sorry.
I'm
Yes.
curious, we looked all over for it. Where was it?
I randomly came across it for a different project with that engineer, and found the library page for it. So miracles happen.
Hallelujah.
It's a very long time to find. But we worked with Wyoming. I've met out there with them in person. They're totally fine with amending it because it was so vague, to allow us to put a little piece of what will be New Holland when we do the loop road, and 3 parallel parking spaces there to just be on top of their transmission main. And if they ever need to dig that up, it's just on us to replace our elements. But otherwise, it's a very cut and dry agreement. The city attorney's looked it over. He just wanted me to formally bring it to you guys as, you know, wanting you to be aware if that does get ripped up, it's on us to replace.
So with the new Wyoming water line, isn't that the easement?
No. No, it's not going to affect that at all.
Any questions? Hearing nothing, I'll call for the roll.
Steve Brown now.
What?
Yeah. Commissioner Grove?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Gomez?
Yes.
Branson?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for your due diligence in finding that easement and getting it squared away.
No
Good-
problem.
Good work.
Yeah, thank you. And then I did want to bring up, you guys were talking about the sheriffs. As of the end of December, we had 50 winter parking tickets written. Last year, we had 2. So,
Really?
yes,
So
very much so an improvement.
it makes a big difference for Bob's team in particular, right? Very good. Thank you, Sarah.
No problem.
Moving on to budget amendments number 1 through 16. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt fiscal year 2025 to 2026 budget adjustment number 1 through 16 as drafted.
Second. Then moves supported. I think we got a new,
You have a new sheet.
New sheet
The
from-
mayor caught my Easter egg, that I put in there. The total is, I put DDA fund expenditure totals instead of Terrace Square, so he was very keen and caught that error. And so we got that updated, yes.
we have the updated.
We have the updated one that says Terrace Square at the bottom instead of DDA. So I'll just run through these briefly.
Yes.
Do you want an
Yes.
explanation?
No, I want to go through.
Yeah, federal grants, fire chief received a grant for SCBA, right? Or, no, what is this one for? Turnout gear, sorry. You already have the SCBA. Turnout gear, so that's, gonna be a total of a $90,000 expenditure, and they're reimbursing $71,425.
That's because we got the grant.
Yep. Right, we actually got 2 grants, so there's another grant, the next one under, we got a state grant as well, for another set of turnout gear as well. So, yeah, there's 2 different grants, both for turnout gear, in there. And then the other portion of that state grant is carryover from last year from the master plan grant. That was another $50,000 that we received this year. They were late to pay for, so we put that into the budget there. As far as expenditures go, we got the AV equipment for in here. That's good timing for that one, right? Finance, we did have a slight increase in audit costs with a new proposal in new company. So that was, we weren't quite sure where the RFP was going to come in at budget time last year, but now we know because we were doing the budget at the same time the RFP was out, so we weren't quite sure where the budget or the audit costs were going to come in there. The next one is a tax tribunal defense. You'll see that one's $25,000. We're currently involved in 2 tax tribunal cases. If you would like more information on that, you can get with me afterwards. It's kind of complex and a lot to get into here. But there is 2 current ones. One's looking pretty good in our favor. The second one is very young in its infancy, so we haven't even started the defense yet, but we need to plan it and get the money allocated for that.
And this money is not for the attorneys, it's for.
It's mostly for appraisals, yes, and then a little bit for attorney fees, but mostly appraisals.
So just 2 businesses.
2 properties, yes. Yes, sir.
Talk, we don't want to say.
Yeah, City Hall, just, we were trying to get by on a little bit lower repair budgets, but obviously, we have needed repairs that come up. City Hall, increase in insurance, so as I said earlier, we're fresh with the MML. Tyler switched to that right before I came here. They were much cheaper insurance company than the previous insurance company, but they also reevaluated our properties, and that increased our insurable value, which increased our premium. But we're still much farther ahead than the previous company the city had, and the service of MML has been great. So it's just the construction value and everything has gone up, so therefore our premiums have gone up. So I think they added a lot of money to our rebuild rate costs. I don't have an exact number, but it was a significant amount of increase to what it would cost to rebuild this building or the DPW building in today's dollars versus, when they were appraised 10, 15 years ago. So that's why that one's going up. Next one, police, left of the sergeant for 2 months. So that one is going down $47,500. And that's fire prevention grant expense, $1,000. So that's part of the state grant for fire prevention materials. And then here's the fire turnout gear grant expense. So that $90,000 encompassed both the state grant and the federal grant. I don't know if I was clear with that to start with. But the total $90,000 is between both grants, the federal grant and the state grant. DPW, the drain commissioner enacted a new drain district by 196, right there by Arrows and the exit ramp. There was a orphan drain there. So we have to pay our at-large portion for that orphan drain, which was about $65,000. So we had the option of paying it over 3 years with interest, 9%. So we decided to pay for it because 9% is crazy. DPW reevaluation, same thing. Insurance values went up on the DPW building, and then finally the transfer out is to Terrace Square for the build out of the restaurant space and AV equipment. And then on the next page, you'll see that 107 coming into the Terrace Square fund, and then 7,500 going for increased AV costs, and then 100,000 for build out of restaurant space. And I just Tyler wanted me to reiterate that this is allocating the funds in the budget, but it's not yet expending the funds. So any expenditure or agreement with a restaurant or anything else will also come back to the commission. So this is taking care of a future budget amendment that might need to happen depending on the agreement with the proposed location there. So it's not expending any funds at this time, but it's allocating them in case they're needed for the agreement.
Other than the
Other than the AV funds are being spent tonight, right? Right, Larry?
I don't know, Jack, you want to speak to that Terrace Square funding? I know you've been working pretty closely on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Or is it 100,000?
we're very close with who we've been in negotiations with. I think to hopefully get an agreement done. You know, there's some issues related to the condition of the space that is out of our control. The good thing is that the investment will be, a good chunk of it will be, if not all of it, will be really into the building itself, which will retain in our capital expenses and be under our control no matter what happens to that space. So it's really necessary no matter who we get an agreement with. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is.
Well, it's a reality when you have an asset, you have to make the capital investment to keep the asset.
I mean, it's not something that that we want to have to do, but we do to make the space usable.
I appreciate the work you've done with the staff in that job.
Yeah, yep, it's coming along good. So hopefully we'll have something good in the next couple months.
Is it going to be made clear in this next lease agreement that that equipment stays with the building?
It will be very clear, and we've had that discussion with them from the very beginning. We're all on the same page.
Thank you for working with them.
Absolutely.
The last kind of was real clear.
Put us in a weird spot.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's now we move forward. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Any questions on these budget adjustments? Hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the roll.
Commissioner Branson?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
Cologne?
Yes.
DeBrey?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Cameron?
Yes.
Metric?
Yes.
And Rocco?
Aye.
I don't have my sheet.
You don't have your sheet?
I don't have my sheet.
You know we are, don't you? The motion carries. We're moving on to item number 7, PA 152, hard cap exemption. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution number 26-1825 to utilize the exemption option to remain compliant with Public Act 152, the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act of 2011, the beneficiary year January 1 to December 31, 2026.
Support.
Been moved, supported. There is a memo from our HR director, Andrew. Do you want to speak to us now?
Sure. So this is something that we've talked about for the last 3 years, where we've had to do something on this. Most recently, we talked for a benefit year that started on July 1st. Through our shopping process, we shopped for new benefits. We recently, on January 1st, switched to Priority Health. We also switched our plan year. So we have this resolution already adopted that technically takes us through June 30. But our broker recommended that we get one that now matches our benefit year. So our benefit year now, instead of being on the fiscal year, will be on the calendar year to match up with the major insurance industries and for deductible purposes, which will make it much easier for employees who are opting to use the HSA platform to track their deductibles. So this is, essentially it's a resolution that would extend that and now it would match our new current benefit plan year.
Any questions for Andrew? I see that you show the cost savings roughly $23,500, so good job shopping, and I think Priority Health is a pretty good health provider.
Yeah, they've shown more stability in our area for premiums, so that helps not only the city, but it helps our employees. So this, for this next benefit year, we actually, depending on the plan people chose, some of them were premium savings compared to what they were.
So what's the feedback from the staff so far? Has it been positive?
I mean, we're just starting, just starting the benefit year. When we went through open enrollment, there was some obvious hesitation to switch for our plan carrier. But the makeups of the plans are the exact same of where we came from. So, yeah, I guess I'll continue to receive feedback as the benefit plan year goes forward, but we shouldn't see a ton of changes. What I had expressed to people is if you have a doctor that was covered under your Blue Cross but not under Priority Health, that would be a big anomaly in our area.
Motion's on the floor. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes. Yes.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Mayor Norwood?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for the yeoman's work and looking out for the city and the staff. Moving on to the next item on the agenda would be number 8, recommend the motion for nationwide 457B account closure. The motion.
Motion to adopt resolution number 26-1826 to authorize designee our adoption and closing of the city's 457B held by Nationwide.
Second motion.
And move supported, Henry. I think this is just administrative stuff.
This is just administrative stuff. We've had this 457 plan, that's that supplemental retirement plan for government agencies. This has been open since the mid-90s. We haven't had anyone under this plan for a couple of years now. And in order for us to just close it out, we need a resolution from this group.
Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Rowe?
Yes.
Branson?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Mayor Norwood?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for dotting the i's and crossing the t's. Moving on to the next agenda item is City Commission meeting rules and procedures update. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the amended City of Hudsonville State Commission rules and procedures as presented.
Second.
So move supported. Jill, thank you. Good work here. I reviewed it and it looks more professional and applicable to how we run our meetings. Do you have any other comments there? Now, did you template this off other communities or was it MML suggestions?
It was what you guys had before, I just updated the font really, and had the attorney go through and make sure that it's still accurate according to state law and stuff. Adjusted things, but I don't handle the packets anymore, and I don't want to, so I'm moving it as an option, so.
Any questions for Jill on this? Thank you for doing this. I'll call for the roll.
Commissioner Branson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, motion carries. Moving on to item 10, is there a motion for the award of the lift station reconstruction?
Make a motion to award contract for Highland Drive lift station reconstruction to Jackson Berkeley Contractors for the amount of $714,883 for the attached bid tabs and recommendation by the police manager.
Second motion. To move supported, Mr. Miller? Spending my money?
Sure. First, I also want to thank Mark Honors with that behind me. I'm grateful to be part of an organization that allows us to support him in what he's doing. And I know he is a very humble servant. I don't know if you guys caught the things he said, but for those of you that read my weekly report, I try to brag a bit about some accomplishments of our group, and I often put work order totals in there. And we're going to do 2,000. We did 2,000 work orders in 2025, which was a record for the department. Mark did 19,000, he said, in 7 months. So just perspective, his role over there is very similar to my role here in Hudsonville. And I'm bragging 2,000, he's talking 19,000. So I appreciate hearing that. I appreciate what he's doing over there.
You didn't get a dime more than your department though, right?
No,
It's all,
no.
yeah, it's just all moving over.
Nothing, but I do like hearing about what he has going on over there. And again, I appreciate us being able to support that. But on the lift station, this replacement rehab is kind of a result of some work that we did with Police and Family Break back in 2016 through 2018. It was the SAW grant, if you guys recall that term back there. Just under $700,000 worth of basically consulting, inspections, inventory, and putting together an asset management plan that was delivered to us at the end of 2020. This lift station is the first big project that's going to come out of that asset management plan. Of our 10 lift stations, it was identified as the highest priority or the station that would have the highest consequence of failure. It's not a terribly old lift station at about 30 years, which I think I wrote in there, but consequences of failure being very high, it handles most of the flow from the south side of town, so at times half of the city's flow is going through that station. And it's it's a previous generation when it comes to design. It's what they call a vacuum prime station, so it's prone to failure. Generally, Jeremy will correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, they're not designing or installing that type of station anymore because they've proven over the last 30 years to be prone to failure. It relies on a separate vacuum system. The idea was to keep the pumps and the equipment up higher and dry and rely on a vacuum system to basically provide the initial pull for the pumping. But what fails is the vacuum priming air system itself. So they require frequent maintenance. They're easy fixes, easy repairs, but like I said, when they fail, the consequence can be severe. So that basically is how this station of the 10 we have made its way to the top of our list for priority replacement. Got a good contractor. The contractor that we're recommending along with police there is local. They're from up in Muskegon. They somewhat specialize in this. They do a lot of them. Police has had a good record with them on similar projects. And I'm kind of excited to see it through.
When?
Looking at this spring, possibly breaking ground middle or end of April, as soon as the weather conditions really allow.
So we say breaking ground, I don't have a visual for what this looks like.
So the Highland Drive lift station right now, picture the east end of Highland Drive where the entrance to the nature center is off Highland. There's a little cutout right there where a couple cars can get into the park. Really all you see from the road is a couple of panels and a small generator right there. The lift station itself is a big, that one I believe is an 8-foot diameter, basically concrete cylinder down 24 feet beneath the ground. So most everything that's happened there is below grade. There's another hatch you can see that's only about 6 foot deep that has all the pumps, equipment, motors, and everything. So we're going to essentially be installing a new station, a traditional submersible pump station. So new below-grade concrete, 2 new pumps, and a new above-grade panel. With the old station still in service, it's the easiest, most efficient way to do it. And then we'll decommission the old station once the new one is ready to run. So breaking ground, there's going to be a lot of equipment, but there won't really be a lot going on above grade that you'll see.
Does the old station remain there? Is there any backup purpose to it, or?
No, not really. This station will be piped and valved with, we have a diesel pump that's portable that we can tow around, so this one will be set up so that if this new station does fail for some reason or just go down for maintenance, it'll be a really quick and easy matter of hooking up 2 hoses with quick connects on easily accessible at-grade couplers. So the provisions are there, but no, the old station didn't serve a purpose.
So it just remains there?
The whole thing will be downloaded and moved.
Oh, okay.
And then any disruption in the transition, do you foresee?
There should be no disruption to service. If everything goes as planned, and I fully expect it will, it'll be a matter of opening a valve to the new station, and once it's filled and proven itself, closing the valve to the old station. So the old one runs right up until the moment the new one takes over.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Okay, I'm learning you guys as the expert. I sure want my toilet to flush.
We're on the north side.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right.
How
You
did
covered
it
my
come
house.
in compared to the recent estimate?
We were a little high, which I take that with a grain of salt because we originally had the price up there much closer to the sorry, I don't have the paper in front of me, but I think it was $714,000. We were up above $700,000 for a couple of years because we took the original 2020 estimate and we're essentially just bumping it up as it kind of rode the capital improvement plan for a couple of years. And midway through 2025, midway through the design process, F&D actually revised that estimate back down. Thought they had good reason to do so, but when bid came in back where we had pre-revision. So obviously we don't like to see that. We do run into that sometimes, but in discussion with Andrew, it looks like we're still safe and not threatening balance or any operations to go ahead and move ahead with the project.
We're good, Andrew, on the money?
We are good on our money here. I mean, as long as there's no surprises from Ottawa County, we're good. We're doing the best we can with the information we have in hand. So we shouldn't even need a budget amendment for this. I think we have enough in operations to cover the difference there. We budgeted about $600,000 for the whole process, and then came in at 714, so that's about 114. Meter changeouts are going well, so I don't think we'll use the whole 100,000 we allocated for meter changeouts. So I'm planning about 50,000 from that, and about 50,000 just for general operations. So we should be good without a budget amendment. We're coming in under on some things. Meter changeouts are pretty much. I mean, I think there's less than a dozen left, right?
Yeah, I would say 12 to 15 total meters in the city.
Yeah, so we're almost done with meter changeout, so we're only at about 15,000 spent out of the 100,000 we allocated for the sewer fund of that. So with about 12 to 15 to go, 50,000 is very, very high for that change out. So we should be pretty good in the budget that we already have there.
Reviewing information, why did you lower the cost, the estimated?
The project itself, Larry, we simplified it just a little bit compared to like from a control standpoint where there was a few things. There's standby power there that we determined was still in top operating condition and still would have the capacity to run the slightly upsized pumps that are going to go in there. But other than that, I mean, generally speaking, construction costs, if not coming down, we've seen level off over the course of the last year on a few things, and I think they were optimistically looking at it that way. But there hasn't been a significant change in material costs. I don't have there's not a smoking gun there. They just missed by, that much margin on the materials, labor, and everything that's going
Jeremy, any feedback here, or your Dick?
Sounds like a lot of shoring, holes, bypass pumping, all good stuff. Cars.
It'll be fun to watch. Maybe Dan can bring his grandkid up there, huh?
Love that. You would love that. They would love that.
Hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the roll.
Commissioner Camp?
Yes.
Ray? I heard you first.
I can't hear you.
I know.
Yes.
Gomez?
Yes.
Branson?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes. Aye, motion carries. Spend the city's money as allocated. Thank you, Bob. Moving on to the number 11, appointment to boards and commissions. The only change here is to the current makeup is that we're changing out Tobin stepping down from Personnel Committee and replacing him with Commissioner Knightley. That is the only change there for boards and commissions. I think I've sent an email or spoken notes to you over the past few weeks. But I'll ask for the motion, please.
Motion to approve mayor's appointments to boards and commissions as listed.
Second.
Been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12 is the last one, election of the mayor pro tem. I spoke with many of you, and I think there's been a few emails out there requesting input. I'd like to thank Tobin, who has served honorably and professionally over the last 2 years. So, Commissioner, is that right?
Sounds right.
And appreciate his
Feels like
counsel.
4.
And what?
Nothing. Feels like 4.
With Mr. Commissioner Nitre's role in the city and his position working in the city, I've asked Commissioner Nitre to step up as Mayor Pro Tem to serve appropriately in my absence. I would ask for the motion.
I'll make a motion to nominate elect Dave Nitre to serve as Mayor Pro Tem until 2027.
Second.
It's been moved and supported by Commissioner Rowe. Any other discussion? Anything to say?
Honored to get the chance to do that. I don't even need to lean at that. Grateful to serve with all of you, so happy to help how I can.
You'll be getting calls in the middle of the night. I'm going to give you a heads up when I'm mulling something over. And you can ask Phil.
The chief's already getting me trained on dumpster fire.
Well, that had to come up, didn't it? It just had, how much did he pay?
Not enough, but it was worth it all the same.
Very well. I will ask for the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Aye, motion carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Nitre, for serving the community. Before we adjourn here, I would
I appreciate the effort you put in there, Mark, to all of these committee assignments. I think it's important that we the shuffle is important.
Yeah, there has to be a shuffle.
That we're all cross-trained and comfortable with all the committee assignments. So I appreciate the effort that you put into making that happen.
Thank you.
Just want to thank staff for the work on the audit process, getting that through, Andrew. Really appreciate it. I know that's not an easy task, so thank you. I'd echo that too. Appreciate my efforts.
And I would like to thank Tobin for your service as Mayor Pro Tem. Extra work, and thank you.
I won't be here next month, so you got anything?
Great tell, where will you be?
What's that?
Where will you be?
I'll be floating on a boat somewhere.
God bless you. Very good.
With the family.
With family. And a Mai Tai.
Yeah, probably one or two of those as well.
Very good, sir. Anything Anything else from staff? Hearing none, we are adjourned.